Hi everyone, welcome to Poonam's kitchen. In today's video, I'll share with you my recipe for making Moong Dal halwa. Just look at this royal treat. This one tastes just as delicious as it looks. This halwa has a very special place in all celebrations in India, especially during winter months. I'll share with you my recipe that takes less time than the traditional method to cook this. Less time, a little lesser ghee and a more grainy texture. Let's start making this halwa. Here I have a half cup of split and washed moong dal. Now this dal needs to be soaked in warm water for 2 hours. If you're soaking in water at room temperature, then you can soak it for 3 to 4 hours. Now by weight, this is 100 grams of dal. After soaking, this dal becomes almost 2.5 times its volume, even a little more than that. I had drained the dal onto a strainer so that all the excess water could be removed. So this soaked dal I'll be using for today's recipe. A little less than half cup of sugar. Now the traditional recipe for moong dal halwa calls for the same amount of sugar as the dal, but I'm using milk as well. Now milk is going to bring about its own sweetness and some fat also, and this allows me to use less sugar and less ghee. By weight, the sugar is 80 grams and ghee is 70 grams. So I am not taking 100 grams of sugar and 100 grams of ghee for 100 grams of dal. That's what the traditional recipe calls for. As we move along with the recipe, I will show you that actually you do not need that extra amount of ghee. By taking care of a few things while cooking, you can always get a much grainier texture and yummy taste with less ghee as well. But do not decrease the amount of ghee less than this. You may use unsalted butter as a replacement of ghee, but do not use oil. To enhance the flavor of the halwa, I'll also use kishmish, that is golden raisins, a few saffron threads, cardamom powder, 1 teaspoon, and a few almonds. You may add dry fruits of your choice. The amount of milk is 3 times the amount of the dry dal. So 1.5 cups of milk for half cup of dry dal. I'll begin by grinding the dal, the soaked dal. I transfer this soaked dal to this blending jar. I'm using a small jar and making sure not to add any water with dal. I'll grind this to a coarse paste without adding any water. Pulse it a few times, stop, again pulse, again stop. Don't pulse the dal continuously, else it might become very fine. Also keep scraping the walls of the jar so that whole dal is not sticking on the walls. Here I'm almost done. Let's take a look at the dal. This is just perfect. See? It's a coarse paste. Just try to pulse it without any water. If need be, add a teaspoon. Now to cook the halwa, here I have a big non-stick pan. If you use anything other than non-stick, then the paste would stick to the pan and you would need to add a lot of ghee to roast it, which is not the idea of this recipe. Also, taking a big pan will ensure that we can speed up the process. But if you do not have a big non-stick pan, it's okay. Take a smaller pan, but let it be a non-stick one. I'll set the heat to medium and allow the pan to warm up a little. Once the pan is warm, I'll transfer 3/4 the ghee. Not the whole of it. I'm saving some ghee. I'll use this at a later stage. I'll show you when. The ghee has almost melted. I'll now switch off the heat and transfer the dal paste to the ghee. What happens when we keep this heat on? The paste tends to stick to the pan. So we first switch off the heat, mix in the dal paste with the ghee, and then switch on the heat again. Now that the dal paste is mixed with the ghee, now I'll switch on the heat at medium. I'll now start frying this. Now, right now, this is a paste. And as we fry this, it will change its consistency several times. Since I did not add any water while blending this, so this will start frying very fast. So I have to continuously keep stirring this. Now this is the trick whenever you have to fry anything. Make the layer that is exposed to the heat as thin as possible. This makes the frying faster and reduces the cooking time. I'll keep tossing and keep spreading in a layer. It would also ensure even frying and a better taste to the halwa. Now this will take a total of around somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes to fry. I'll keep stirring this, taking a break of just a few seconds in between each stir. But I will show this to you after a few minutes when it changes its consistency. In just 2 minutes, the whole paste gets heated up and it starts lumping up. See, like this. Now what do? We keep pressing it, keep breaking the lumps, like this, for even frying. Now, as long as you are ready to use your muscle power and you can continue to do this, breaking the lumps, you can keep the heat at medium, else reduce it between low and medium. I prefer to do it continuously so that it fastens the process. Now this is how it looks when you're using coarse paste. Had you made the paste very fine, what would happen then? In that case, the surface area of the dal that absorbs ghee increases. So a fine paste will absorb a lot more ghee. You need more ghee to fry that. Secondly, the final product, the final halwa that is made with fine paste will not be very grainy. You will see this one, this will finally become a very grainy halwa. Just because I decided to use coarse paste. So grainy texture and less ghee. It's been 7 minutes. In the meantime, I moved the pan to the larger burner. Since my pan is pretty big, the smaller burner wasn't doing justice to the pan. So now I've been roasting for the last 3 minutes on the bigger burner. I would suggest that you do the same. If your pan is big enough, use the bigger burner and save some time. The heat is still at medium and I have been continuously pressing this, tossing this, frying evenly. As the size of the lump decreases, this motion also helps in breaking the lumps. And this is how it looks after 12 minutes. The lumps have reduced so much in size that now they start looking like grains. And if I were to taste this right now, there is no rawness. So in 12 minutes, the rawness is gone. I'm going to fry this further. I want this to have a nice aroma and a very roasty flavor. You see all this glaze on the grains? This is now the ghee that is being released by the dal. You see how all the stages of the dal are so very clear. In the first stage, when the dal had its own moisture, it was more like a paste when it was mixed with the ghee. Then the dal lost all the moisture of its own and started absorbing the ghee and became more like a lump. And now after 15 minutes, it has a grainy texture and it is now releasing all the extra ghee. It won't absorb any more ghee, now it is releasing, and this is the time to add milk. I'll first add half the quantity of the milk, mix it up with the dal, and then add the rest of the milk, mix it thoroughly with the dal. The kitchen is right now filled with that typical aroma when even the neighbors come to know that you're cooking halwa. Here I'll want you to see how much ghee is floating here on the top. This is all the extra ghee that dal did not absorb. So we did not really need that extra ghee to make the halwa. And now as this warms up, I'll also add the saffron threads. These lend a nice color and aroma to the halwa. I'll also add the cardamom powder. Mix these in and now cook this. See so much of ghee floating on the top. I'll give you a closer look. All this yellow color is because of the ghee. It is ghee floating on the top. So thanks to the coarse grinding and the non-stick pan, we did not need 100 grams of ghee for 100 grams of dal. We roasted this in much lesser ghee. And thanks to the big non-stick pan, I roasted this only in 15 minutes. I was also able to roast at medium heat throughout, but now after adding the milk, I have reduced the heat to between low and medium. Now all this milk will become khoya, will become dense, and that is what is going to make the halwa very flavorful. I forgot to show you the food color that I'll be adding. I'm adding a few drops of yellow color. Make sure that you always use good quality food color. I'll add 4 drops of food color. Mix in the color. I'll now also add the sugar. You can adjust the sugar as per your taste. Mix in the sugar. This halwa will have sweetness on the milder side. If you want it more sweet, then add a little extra sugar. I'll keep stirring this continuously till the time this all comes together as one mass. For those of you who like their halwa to be laden with ghee, where the ghee is dripping, there is a solution coming up for you. Remember, I had saved some ghee in the beginning. That is what is going to give the halwai wala taste to the halwa. It's been 8 minutes. Now I'll add the raisins. I've been continuously stirring this at low to medium heat. I'll also add the slivered almonds. I'll save a few for garnishing. I'll keep stirring this. I want this to thicken a little bit more. And as this thickens, it might even splatter. So just be a little extra careful after adding the milk. It's been 15 minutes since I added the milk, and see how it is all coming together. Now at this stage, I'll add the remaining ghee. Now halwa is not going to absorb this ghee, but this ghee is going to form a medium around the halwa. This ghee will provide a nice glaze, aroma, and texture to the halwa. More like the halwai kind, but we know the secret. We made this in lesser amount of ghee. For those of you who are looking for the traditional recipe, the exact procedure, just take 100 grams of ghee and 100 grams of sugar for 100 grams of dal. You may switch off the heat at this stage or thicken it a little more, like this. It took a total of 18 minutes after adding milk to thicken to this stage. I'll serve halwa in this special plate. It is actually called a halwa plate. I'll garnish this with the slivered almonds that I had saved and serve this hot. Do make this halwa for your friends and family and give them a special treat. As the halwa cools down a little, it tends to solidify, as seen in the picture. Grainy texture of the halwa now becomes very, very prominent. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked my recipe. If you liked it, do give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Poonam's Kitchen on YouTube. A click on my picture on the screen will take you to the Poonam's Kitchen channel on YouTube. See you again with a new recipe very soon. Till then, bye.